So you have an ESOP plan, it's gained in value, and you're looking to retire early. Well, today we're going to talk about 4 ways to retire early, retire before 59 and a half with an ESOP, employee stock ownership plan, and how to help avoid penalty, the 10% early withdrawal penalty, while you do so. You see, an ESOP plan, just like any other tax-deferred plan, IRA, 401k, if you're to take withdrawals out before the age of 59 and a half, you're subject to the 10% early withdrawal penalty. However, there's ways to work around or avoid that 10% early withdrawal penalty, and that's what we're going to go through today. Now, today, as we talk about things, this assumes that you already have enough saved up. So it means that you've got enough in your ESOP plan. Now, working with a lot of different clients, people just like you, I understand that the ESOP plans can sometimes really compound in growth really quick. So a lot of people with ESOP plans are looking to retire early. So it assumes that you've got enough saved up, that you've already done the work that we do with our clients, which is putting together an income plan and an investment plan, because those will help you understand how much you can spend and make that money last. Now, for those that are new to the channel, my name's Scott Sierens. I run an investment management and retirement planning firm where our mission is to help good people make great financial decisions so that way they can maximize their retirement story. You're listening to this today to hopefully help maximize your retirement story of early retirement. So let's talk about the 4 ways that you can, assuming you've got enough saved up, utilize these ESOP plans, but not have to worry about that 10% penalty. Real quick, something that's critical for you to understand before we get into the strategies is that every plan is different. So it's important that you know and understand how your company plan acts and what the rules of that plan are. Some are going to allow you to do rollovers before certain ages. Some of them will only allow you to do rollovers after certain ages. Some of you will allow you to do lump sum rollovers. Some of them you might have to distribute your account over a certain period of years. So you have to know the rules of your plan first. Then you can start to link those up with the strategies that we're about to talk about. So the first strategy is that you could save into a brokerage account. This is basically a non-retirement investment account. However, you're going to treat it like a retirement account, meaning you're going to save into it and not use it until you're ready for your early retirement. But here's the thing about a brokerage account is you can put money into it and take money out of it basically at any age of your life and do so without penalty. So if you want to retire at age 50 or 53 or 48 or 57 or any age, you can start withdrawing money from that brokerage account without penalty. So what's the pros of this? Well, the pros of this is that if you are, aside from your ESOP account, which has grown, so you're like, hey, I'm thinking I'm going to be able to retire because of this ESOP account. Aside from that, if you're saving into the brokerage account, you can save enough into the brokerage account so that way you can live off of that until age 59 and a half, and then at age 59 and a half, start making withdrawals from your ESOP account or whatever that you may have rolled it into. So you can go to this money, take money out without any sort of penalties. Now, be aware when you take money out of your brokerage account, brokerage accounts are subject to taxes on interest, dividends, and gains. So you might have some tax liability, but at least you won't have the 10% penalty. So there's a few other benefits to the brokerage account as well. I've seen a lot of ESOP plans, working with other folks just like you. I've seen a lot of ESOP plans that can really grow in value, meaning they've grown so much in value that when the client is going to, be in their 70s or 80s, they're going to have required minimum distributions that are way more in income than they had ever made in their life. And so one of the benefits of having this brokerage account as well is during this time period of your early retirement, you can also do Roth conversions. But again, if you do a Roth conversion pre-59 and a half, you can't withhold the tax dollars from that Roth conversion. You'll be subject to that 10% penalty. So instead, you can pay the tax dollars on the Roth conversion from the brokerage account. The other thing a brokerage account adds is just tax flexibility for your future of, when you want to take money out of different accounts to help you keep within different tax brackets. So if you have an ESOP plan and you haven't started a brokerage account yet, I would highly recommend maybe starting one, saving into one, because it's going to provide a lot of flexibility to you in your future. However, there are ways to actually utilize the ESOP money without penalty as well, pre-age 59 and a half, and we'll talk about those next. Now, as I go into strategy number 2 and number 3, these are for plans that require rollovers and are not NUA eligible, meaning net unrealized appreciation. If you're not really sure about any of those terms right there, I highly recommend, partnering up with a financial professional as well as a tax professional, because you're in some, years here where, again, you want to avoid any sort of penalties and any sort of big mistakes that could cost you big dollars. If you're wondering if we could be a good fit for you, you can go to lifemoneyshow.com and click on the Work With Us tab. But again, make sure you fully understand your plan as you consider your early retirement with your ESOP plan. Okay, so strategy 2 and 3 is if your plan requires a rollover, meaning that you roll over the ESOP plan to a 401k or to an IRA. Well, strategy 2 is that you would roll over your plan to your 401k. You see, with that, you could potentially use the rule of 55. So this does assume that you're retiring between 55 and 59 and a half. But what the rule of 55 states is that if you leave your job in or after when you turn age 55, you can take withdrawals from your 401k penalty-free. And so this gives you a way to use that ESOP plan, because you take it out of the ESOP, you roll it into your 401k, and then you can make withdrawals from your 401k penalty-free. Now, remember, you will still owe income tax at your ordinary income tax rates on the withdrawals, because this money is tax-deferred money. Also, a couple things to remember about this is it must be the 401k of the company you just left at age 55 or older. So it can't be old 401ks from old companies or old ESOP plans from old companies. And the other thing just to kind of consider or understand, or a few potential downsides to this strategy. One is when you're making withdrawals from a 401k plan, typically plans have a 20% mandatory federal tax withholding. So even if the income that you're taking in would keep you under, you'd never have to withhold 20% for federal taxes. Well, a lot of plans, it's mandatory that that's the minimum that you would have to withhold. So essentially in that time period, you might be giving more to the IRS or taking more out, getting taxed on more than what you actually have to. So just something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is you might think, okay, well, I'm age 55, I've got the 401k, I want to use this rule of 55. I've got this all handled. Well, be very careful. Let me share a quick story with you. Every plan is different. You see, work with a client where they were retiring at age 55. We made phone calls before they retired, before they even made the final decision to retire, because we wanted to make sure everything was in line. And what we found out was their plan, yes, allowed them to use the rule of 55. However, their plan also said if you're going to use this, we let you do one withdrawal, and that's it. So they had to make a decision up front if they were going to use this, and we're going to talk about other strategies, but if they were going to use this, they were going to have to make one decision of how much money they would want to take out for those years between 55 and 59 and a half. It wasn't a good decision for them to do this. So we didn't use the rule of 55 for them in their scenario, because how much they would have to take out would put them in higher tax brackets than what they would ever be in. They'd be paying more tax dollars than what they'd need to retire early. So we didn't use the rule of 55 for them. We used a combination of strategy 1 and then also had strategy 3 open and available to them because we planned in advance. We planned ahead for that scenario. So don't think you necessarily have it handled. You have to understand, what does your plan allow? Because if your plan says, yes, you can use it, but it has to be one big lump sum withdrawal, that might not actually be in your favor. It could be costing you more in tax dollars than what you'd ever spend. So if that's the case, then we might want to then shift to strategy number 3. Our third strategy is using the rule of 72T. This is where you're going to roll the funds over to an IRA. I know what you're already thinking. Wait a second, you told me that if they're in an IRA and you take a withdrawal before 59.5, there's a 10% penalty. And normally, yes, that's correct, unless you're using the rule of 72T. So what that is that you're going to take substantially equal periodic payments. Basically, you're going to be taking equal payments year by year by year, and you have to do it for the longer of 5 years or until you turn age 59.5. If you follow this rule, you're able then to take out those substantially equal periodic payments without 10% penalty. Now, there's a lot that goes into this rule. Again, make sure you're partnering up with a financial professional as well as a tax professional, because you need to follow IRS rules, guidelines, and tables in determining the amounts. Also, there are some strategies within this that you can utilize where you're not putting all of the ESOP dollars into one account and then having the payment amounts based on that. Sometimes what makes sense is that you're dividing these up into multiple IRA accounts. So that's why I said you want to do a lot of research on this. You want to partner with the right people that can help you retire early, make this rule work for you so that way you don't pay the penalty. Not only don't pay the penalty because you took out money early, but just by not following all the guidelines. So something to consider: if the rule of 55 doesn't work for you, you're retiring before age 55, then you want to consider the rule of 72T. Now, our fourth strategy is for those of you that have plans that are NUA eligible, net unrealized appreciation. Let me just explain from a high level the benefits of this strategy if available and eligible to you. First off is that you've got any sort of stock, right? There's the base, meaning what was put in, the base dollars, and then the gains, what it has appreciated to. Well, utilize, if you think about all the other strategies that we've talked about, strategy 2 and strategy 3, when you take money out of the ESOP plan, you're going to pay tax at your ordinary income tax rates. With this strategy, you take and I have to say, with this one, again, make sure you're working with a team of professionals. There is so much detail in this strategy that we're not even going to hit today, that I'm just trying to give you the high level overview. But basically, you're able to pay ordinary income tax on the base, but get the gains at long-term capital gains rates, which is typically a lower rate than your ordinary income tax rate. So that could be some tax savings for you. However, there's a lot that you need to consider to even understand if this is the way to go for you, because there's been clients where this makes a whole lot of sense and will save them money. And then there's clients where, based on what their cost basis is, what their gains are, how much they'll need to take out, capital gains rates, that it doesn't make sense for them to potentially use. So first off, you have to determine, does this or does this not make sense for you to use? Then it has to be, again, in the current place of employment of where you just worked, if you're retiring after age 55. And then it also depends on your age. You may or may not be subject to the 10% penalty. But if your company, if you are eligible for this, or this is available for you to utilize in your plan, it's something that you should consider, and it's something that you need to talk to your tax person about, your financial professional about, to see if this is a good strategy for you to go to utilize, and if you would or would not be subject to the 10% penalty pre-age 59.5. It's all going to be based on what age you are, and the different factors such as cost basis and gains in your overall account. So if you have an ESOP plan, you work for a company, employee stock ownership plan, and you are in one of those at a company where you've had great growth in your plan, it's allowing you that benefit to be able to maximize your life and retire early before age 59 and a half. I hope talking about these items helped you understand that there are ways to do so and avoid any sort of, call it, pre-retirement penalties. Now it takes planning, having the right income plan in place, having the right investment plan in place. If it can be of help to you, you can go to lifemoneyshow.com, click on the Work With Us tab. Otherwise, I hope that I've brought you a lot of value and benefit in this video. If you want to learn more about retirement planning, how to reduce the taxes on your ESOP plan or other plans like IRAs and 401ks, subscribe to our channel. That way you get notified as we're coming out with new videos each and every week on topics just like those. Thanks, and have a great day.